welcome to this week's Forefront Coaching's Founders 15, and I am very excited this week to have Sarah Dearden here, artist and founder of Enso Creative Arts. Sarah, thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Why don't we start off by giving us a bit of an introduction into Enso Creative Arts and yourself?
Absolutely. So I am Sarah Dearin. I've been a practicing self-employed artist for the last 13 years, but I've been an artist all my life. It's what I've always done. Enso Creative Arts CIC was actually established in April of 2023. And it was off the back of, well, a fairly momentous journey of mine, actually. So around about 14 years ago, I had quite a severe nervous breakdown, was really quite unwell. Was incredibly lucky to have the most amazing GP, and he referred me to a creative arts and wellbeing centre, and it saved my life. So I ended up being self-employed off the back of that as an artist, but I knew that I always wanted to head back towards that, to give back, really, and that's where Enso was born from. So basically, what we do is we deliver arts for wellbeing sessions, which are sessions aimed at people who are experiencing mental health problems or at risk of or experiencing social isolation. So it's to do with tackling mental health problems, chronic loneliness, just through forming communities, creating artwork, creating really safe, non-judgmental spaces for people to come in and connect with their own creativity.
Fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey so far? You said that it started, how it started and what spurred you on, but tell us about the kind of the startup journey so far. What have been the steps that you've taken along the route?
Yeah, so I'd had my own studio practicing my artwork, and a lady actually came in from Pendle Leisure Trust. Just to kind of, she was looking at creating more arts networks basically within Pendle. And we got chatting about my history, and it just so happened that they were restarting an Arts for Wellbeing programme. And that is where my journey. So I started as a freelancer working via Pendle Leisure Trust, delivering sessions on their behalf. And I knew immediately this is what I needed to do. But what I found was, and the reason why I established Enso Creative Arts CIC, these courses, just by the nature of the funding, you need to reach as many people as possible. So you were looking at 6, 12-week courses. It's not enough. People are just really starting to engage with the programme. They're really starting to find their feet with it. And then it ends, and there's nowhere to signpost them to. So I'd been involved with them for a couple of years, and I'd also worked with UCLan and set up a project and worked directly with UCLan for perinatal ladies. And it was the same story again. It was a 12-week programme. So this is where I knew that there was something missing, and it goes back to the Creative Arts and Wellbeing Centre I was referred to, where it was an ongoing programme. There weren't courses. I attended for 8 months before I actually then turned to volunteering with them. And I knew that that's what I wanted. I wanted something much more long term that saw people through that journey rather than just connecting them with it and then there's nothing for them to go to.
Yeah.
And we do not have a really good structured programme in this area around East Lancashire. So there is an absolute gap for it. And that is where I'm aiming to create something that is really sustained, that people can access for as long as they need it, rather than us dictating to them how long they need it for. So that's where it started. It started from me freelancing, realising that actually the feedback we get time upon time is that this works for people. So we know that it's a proven quantity. It works. I know from my personal experience and also from the people I work with, but it needs something much more sustained. So that's when I looked at, right, how do I do this? And the obvious choice was to go down the CIC route.
Yeah.
Because what that enables me to do, it enables me to run programs that people can pay to come along to.
Mm.
So, I mean, I feel like the world's my oyster with it. I want to go into businesses, looking at, workplace well-being. It's literally never ending where you could go with this. But it also, more importantly, enables me to go for funding in order to put on programs that people don't have to pay. Because generally, the people who really need to access these are people who they don't have the disposable income to pay for arts classes, even if it is for
Yeah.
well-being. They don't have that, so it means that I can go for funding, and offer these programs to as many people as possible. I just want the reach to be as broad as it possibly can.
Lovely. So you mentioned a few things in there I'd like to pick up on. I'm just going to start off. You were talking about the feedback from some of the people that have been involved and
Yeah.
the impact that they've had. Can you help me to understand a little bit more about that in regards to I don't want you to use anybody's names, of course, but
Yeah.
what kind of impact, what kind of problems are being solved? What kind of uh, detailed impact are you having through the programs that you run?
I mean, I've been very, very lucky that through the programs I've run, I've asked for feedback, and I actually haven't always had to ask for it. I've been given it. So, for instance, the first funded project that I ran, it was actually a children's course. So I work with children and with adults.
Yeah.
And it was two-day courses that I put on. And it was for children from 11 to 16 to come along,
Yeah.
not specifically aimed particularly at mental health, but
Mhm.
around really connecting children with that creativity. It was out in nature. It was Pendle Heritage Centre, so they were outside. So we were looking at the links between being in nature and creativity. And I really wanted to make it a very autonomous project, that these children made their own decisions, they made their own creative decisions. And one child that attended that, and she's actually the daughter of a friend of mine who I went to school with. And now this girl she's diagnosed with OCD, Tourette's, severe anxiety. She is unable to be a part of any general group activities. She's
Yeah.
homeschooled. She doesn't function in a group setting at
Right.
all. So bear in mind, these were 2 days of 5-hour sessions. So it was
Yeah.
10 till 3 on each day. She came along to the first day with a friend of hers, which helped her to kind of feel settled. And her mum said to me, "Don't worry, if she does this, this, and this, it's okay." I did not see the smile leave that girl's face all day. She went. It was like her head was bursting with ideas. She ran, and when I actually packed up after the first day and I went out to my car, and Mum was sat in the car, I was like, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine." I said, "Oh, because where is she?" She said, "Oh, she's gone back in to go and get cake with a friend." And she was actually close to tears, which made me feel up, because she said, "Sarah, I have fully expected a call after an hour for me to come and pick her up, because she's
Wow.
never ever lasted for longer than an hour and a half in any group setting." She said she's stayed for the full 5 hours. I didn't expect that. And she's come out absolutely beaming. She's grabbed some money off me and run back in to get kitchen. I have never experienced her having that reaction. She said normally she would come from any group setting, sit in the car, not speak, and I would have to literally take her to a room when we got home for her to just decompress. And she stayed for 5 hours, and she came the following day and did exactly the same. And she just said, "I have never in a life known her to be so engaged with something, but also not completely depleted of energy at the end of it." So she
Yeah.
actually came out brimming with energy. So, I mean, that for me was absolutely huge. But
Wow.
again, across the board, the feedback that I get from people is that these sessions are a lifeline. These are something that, particularly people who are experiencing poor mental health,
Mm.
and I know from my experience, to look forward to something is actually a really big deal. And people say, "This is the only thing in the week that I look forward to. This is what keeps me going. I come to this session and I leave feeling better." And a lot of that is about the community that we build within the groups, because it's a shared experience. Everybody's experiencing similar things. So they come on and you can talk about it or not, but you're understood.
Yeah.
And the impact is huge, really huge.
Some of the things you were talking about there really kind of resonate with me. I love the idea of it being a safe space. It's obviously you've created a safety Yeah, and a sense of community, as you said.
Yeah,
When we think about that Maslow's hierarchy of need, of making sure that we're hitting those first before putting the challenge in. So it's
absolutely.
absolutely brilliant that you're doing that. Talk to me about what might it look like? What does it look like in there? How do you create that sense of safety and community on a practical level?
I think for me, I always hark back to what I needed when I was in that position. So that's always my go-to. Every single person that walks through the door to my session, be they an adult, be they a child, whatever session I'm running, they're an individual. And I ensure that I spend time with each person, and I will always share my experience, because I feel that that level of empathy is really, really important, that I understand what they're going through.
Yeah.
And I make it my job in every session to find out what each person, because each person will need something a little bit different. And it is my job to ascertain what each person needs from that. And some people will want to fly and they will want to push themselves and they'll want to try all sorts of things. And some people will want to find their comfort zone. Every single person is a complete individual. There is nothing prescriptive about any of the sessions that I run. They're not project based in terms of me saying this is what you're doing. It's all about, again, like with that children's course, it's about giving people autonomy to make their decisions. And if somebody wants to come to a session and they want to sit in the corner and they want to have a brew and they don't want to touch a pencil, that's fine by me. Because the critical thing for me is that every person who comes in feels comfortable at their level, not at
Yeah.
a level I said,
Yeah.
but the level that they set. So it's really about dealing with every single person. So if I've got a group of 15 people, every single person has to have their needs met. And I
Yeah.
think that's just something, it becomes an instinctive thing, I think. And for me, it's relationship building. I need to get to know
Yeah.
each person. I want to know their story. I want to know what's led them to come in to my group within the bounds of what they feel comfortable sharing, obviously. But I think that I find that people, once they see the group and they start making those connections, people really open up.
Mm.
And it's a big part of the journey to feel that you can open up like that in a really safe space. So I suppose it's about gaining people's trust, really.
I love it. And now the 15 minutes is ticking by,
I
and I want
know.
to cover a couple of things that make and on the business side of things. You said that you've set up as a CIC, which allows you to, I would imagine, access more grants and more
That's
funding.
it, yeah.
Just for those people that aren't sure, that may never have heard of that, that are thinking about businesses of their own, that maybe there, could you give us a 30-second, 1 minute? What is a CIC? How does it work for you? And why is it so important?
It works brilliantly for me, because I can kind of go down both routes. I can access people, or, kind of take my service to people who can't afford to pay for it, because I can access grants. I've already had to establish that there is a community interest in what I do by
Yep.
forming the CIC. So therefore, I can go for funding, which is a lot
Mm.
more difficult if you are just a business to go for
Yeah.
grants. In fact, you're excluded mostly from that. But it also means that I can offer my services to people rather than being a charity. I can offer my services that people can pay to come along to. So
Yeah.
then that revenue stream from people paying to come along can help to subsidise the funded projects as well. So
Amazing.
it's,
Almost
it's
like a
nice.
buy one, give one situation.
Absolutely that.
Yeah.
Absolutely that.
Great. I love that. Now we've into the last couple of minutes. What's next for Enso?
Well, I have literally just this last week moved into new premises, so I've been operating out of Highford Mill, which is a shared space, for the last 8 years of my working life, and I have now got my own premises. So it really feels like things are starting to grow. I feel like I've got a lot more scope for the projects that I can run because it's my own space. I can get more people in on both sides of it, on the paid for and the funded sessions. So my brain is currently whirring with the amount of different projects I'm sort of thinking about I can do. So yeah, I feel like I have built my foundations, and it's now
Yeah.
time to start building the walls on top of that. So yeah, really, really feels a very exciting time at the moment.
Lovely. And if somebody wanted to get involved, how do they get in touch with you? How do they follow Enso?
I'm on social media platforms on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and I am just having a website built at the moment by the daughter of one of the participants from my
Wow.
funded project, because she said it's made such a difference to her mum's life that she wants to help me. So she's building a website for me. So hopefully very, very soon, within the next couple of weeks, I should have a website up and running as well.
Amazing. Well, it's early doors. Is there anything that anybody can help you with right now? If you were going to make out a call, 10 seconds of what can people do to help you to reach your mission?
I think for me, the thing that's been the steepest learning curve and that I'm still trying to get to grips with is actually the bid writing for the funding. So that's the thing. It's not my forte, but I'm learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, that for me is the key. I think if I could hone my bid writing skills, we would be absolutely flying.
I love it. And that's the end of our 15. Thank you so much, Sarah. Hopefully more people will be involved and in touch. If you want to find out more about Sarah, do find her on social media. And if you want to know more about Forefront Coaching, then find us in the same place. Do like it, do share it, and share it with anybody you can find, because we want to get Sarah's message out, and we want to get as many people into her halls and grabbing her pencils as she possibly can.
Good.